It is the Martha Zoller Show, and we're so excited. I have this tagline for my show called Around the Corner, Around the World, and we are definitely doing that today. Joni Alpert is back with us today. Welcome back, Joni.
Oh, thank you, Martha. It's so good to be here.
I am glad you're back, but we are going to be spending the first hour of the program talking about your property assessments. We've got John Smith here today, works in the tax assessor's office. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Martha.
And we've got the big guy here, Steve Watson, who is our chief tax assessor. You tell me.
I'm the chief appraiser, but
Chief
whatever
appraiser.
you want to call me is fine with me.
That's all right. As long as you don't call me whatever, right? So we're going to start out. We've got a full hour with them, kind of a teletown hall that we're going to do to talk about it. We do this every year, and I want to say about Steve, I don't have to go look for him. He reaches out to me, and he says, these notices are going out on X date. This would be a good time for us to get together to talk about them. I got mine over the weekend. My husband turned 70 in November of last year, and so we applied for the school tax exemption, and it is reflected in this notice that I got on Saturday. So we're very happy about that. But I'm just going to start out with a basic question, Steve. Is that really, what is this process? What should people expect? And then what kind of tools are there out there for them to use?
Of course. Thank you, Martha. It's great to be here. Now, this year's a little bit different in that we had some legislation, statewide legislation, House Bill 581, and some local legislation regarding assessment caps that delayed getting assessment notices out statewide. But the process is basically the same. We've sent out assessment notices, and property owners have 45 days to appeal their property valuation if they feel like that they're being overassessed or is inequitable in some way with their neighbors. And so when they do that, we'll take that into consideration in whatever components they make us aware of that are important to them. And then we'll have an appraiser come out and take a look at it. Of course, you have to appeal in writing, and you can do that the old-fashioned way via the USPS. Or you can go online at our website, basically Google Q Public Hall County, and find your property, and you can look up that and appeal right from your record there online at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the morning, all the way up until 12 midnight on the deadline. Once we get that appeal, we'll go out and take a look at it, and if there's any revisions we need to make, we'll send out what we call a revised notice or a 30-day notice that gives you 30 days to appeal the revised value. And then in some cases where we don't make any changes, we would send you notification of that as well and inform you of the next steps that you would take, which would be to the Board of Equalization or hearing officer, depending on which route you take. Most people go to the Board of Equalization, which is of no cost to the property owner. And the Board of Equalization will hear the information from the property owner and ourselves, our staff, and make a decision on the appeal or the appraisal. And then, of course, after that, if the property owner is not satisfied, they can appeal on to Superior Court if they desire.
So, you mentioned House Bill 581.
Yes,
and I got to tell you, I've had probably a half a dozen people on to explain it. I've had the people that I was told by people in the know, this is the guy you should have on and you'll understand it when it's all done. I'm a pretty smart girl, okay? I do not still on this day understand it. So I want to know from you, has it caused you those kind of problems? And also, what do we need to know about it?
Certainly, legislation in and of itself, when it concerns property tax or really any other thing, can be administratively challenging. Let's just say that. And so it really took a lot of heavy lifting for our software provider and other software providers across the state of Georgia to get this across the finish line with the components that they had to consider within the software applications that we all use in the 159 counties that we're in. At the end of the day, it's pretty simple. It's just math. Listen, House Bill 581 and the local legislation caps your assessment at 3%. So if I increase your assessment by 20%, for fair market value, for taxation purposes, it can only go up 3%.
Okay.
Now, there's a difference between House Bill 581 and our local legislation. House Bill 581, which is the statewide legislation, caps your assessment from the 24 valuation. Our local legislation caps your assessment from the 23 valuation or assessed value. So this year, even though the assessment notices per 581 does not have the estimated tax on there like we used to enjoy, and we can talk about that in a minute, that your taxes are going to be based on the 23 assessment, not the new assessment that we've sent out to you. And so that's a great opportunity. However, only those jurisdictions within Hall County that are subject to the local legislation will enjoy that, which is Gainesville. If you're a Gainesville resident, City of Gainesville schools, Hall County, and Hall County schools. The other municipalities, some have opted out, some have continued to opt into 581, will be based on House Bill 581. The confusing thing, Martha, is that on any one assessment notice, you could have different assessment notices going out depending on what jurisdiction you're in and as to whether we've been given an estimated rollback millage rate from the jurisdiction. There was a lot of moving parts to this, and so the main thing is that I think it's important for property owners to realize that even though the estimated taxes are not on the assessment notice, if you have homestead exemption, your property valuation for taxation purposes, if you're in Gainesville, City of Gainesville, and or pay City of Gainesville school taxes, or an unincorporated county and pay county and or county school tax, excuse me, your assessed value will be based on the 23 valuation, not the 25 valuation. Hopefully the estimated taxes will get back on the assessment notice next year, and that'll make it a lot easier for property owners to be able to see that.
Yeah, because what I'm seeing here, and I don't mind using mine, is that obviously you get an appraised value, which is not what you tax on. You tax on the assessed value, which is 40%. Mm-hmm. And in my case, because my husband turned 70, we don't have school tax involved here. And there's no amounts on this, folks. But they're saying for the 40% assessed value, it's roughly 20% more. Mm-hmm. Okay, mm-hmm. So that to me seems like a lot in 1 year, 20%. But, I'll wait until I get the numbers and then make a decision whether I'm going to appeal or not.
Well, you have the opportunity to appeal now that you have the assessment notice, so don't wait till you get your tax bill to do that. So that's really, really important to distinguish. And it's also important to know, John's done a great job of doing this analysis on average sale prices for residential property in Hall County. We got a history going back to 2012 where he's got this data that's really important. Even though, when we were in COVID, we all thought the market was just going to crash. It didn't crash. Actually, what happened is that once they let us out of our homes and start doing business again, the market just took off. Interest rates went to a record low. We had limited inventory out there, and so by the basis of, just economics, sale prices, it went up extremely high, lots of sales. However, now that the interest rates have gone down, the number of sales...
Gone up, you mean?
Well, the sale prices went up, and also the number of sales went up. The average sale price went up. And so what happened is now that the interest rates have gotten higher, we still have low inventory. The number of sales have decreased, but the average price for residential property has continued to climb. Not as sharp, but the average price of a residential property has continued to climb, even with limited sales.
You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. You can also send us a text message. We'd like you to be a part of the program, and we're going to talk more. We'll take a break. It is the Martha Zoller Show, and we're here today with Joni Alpert. Welcome back, Joni.
Great to be back, Martha.
And we're going to talk a little politics in the second hour, but in the first hour, we're talking your money about tax assessments, and we're here with Steve Watson, who is the Chief Tax Assessor right? Tax
Chief Appraiser.
Chief Appraiser. Why can't I get that right?
That's
Steve,
okay.
the Chief Appraiser.
That's
He's been
right.
called many other things,
Yes,
though,
ma'am.
and that's right. And then John Smith is here with me today, where he is the Deputy Chief Appraiser. So, John, I want to just take a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Before we get to John, want to remind people that if you get this document that does not have numbers on it yet, I mean, it has your value, but it doesn't have what your taxes are. The clock is ticking on applying for appeals. You need to apply for your appeal if you are going to appeal it, and I'm going to appeal mine because it's 20% more, and even though I'm getting that reduction in school tax, I'm still going to appeal it. And you can also apply for your homestead exemption during this 45-day period. So much of this stuff now is online. You know, it used to be you got a little copy of a document in the envelope with you, with an envelope, and you could fill it out and send it back. Or I would call Steve and ask him how to do it. Okay, that's what I would do. But a lot of this stuff is online, and we'll remind you again how you can get to this online. But John Smith, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you do it, because I think people want to know that. This is the biggest purchase they're ever going to make in their life. They care about it. So how do you do your job?
I'm the Deputy Chief Appraiser, so I'm Steve's backup in the office, and I also do a lot of the analysis and the data processing when we come to our values. And pretty much anything in the office, I think sometimes that nobody else wants to do. So, but the analysis we look at in Georgia for your property values, each county is required to use mass appraisal to set values for properties. And so we look at every sale in the county and we take that into account. And Steve was just mentioning a while ago how the values have gone up even though the sales have gone down. We put together a chart that's out there for people to look at. It's right now we have fewer sales in Hall County than we have had since 2013. We have our lowest number of residential sales, but the value is up. The value's up about $25,000. The average sale price for a residential property in Hall County right now is almost $500,000. It's $494,000 and some change. So we look at all those sales and we look at the value that we have on the properties as we have them appraised in our system, in our CAMA system, compared to what they're selling for, and use statistics to determine how much we're off on those values and to either raise or lower values to be in line with that. We get audited every year by the Department of Audits with Georgia, and we have to be within a certain percentage of those statistics. And we're going to be at the 40% mark. Right now, we're at $39.97. We're just under what the average sale price is, and we do that every year. Our COD and our PRD are exceptionally good. We have the best, the closest ratio that we've had in the last 10 years at least.
So, Steve, John mentioned this average price of a home, and you know it's roughly around $500,000, right? And I gotta believe that what you hear all the time about entry-level home prices, there aren't enough of those. I think that's true. So is the fact that there's so many really expensive houses, say on the lake or whatever, does that skew that? Because, you know, I'm looking at my little old house, and and I'm sure this is assessed values, right? Is that sale price or assessed values?
That's the sales price.
Sale price. Okay, well, that makes me feel better. Okay, that's a lot. $500,000.
It is a lot.
As an average sales price in Gainesville. When you think about every person that's bought a house in Gainesville, Hall County, the average is $500,000. That's a lot.
Yeah, just ask your local real estate agents, and they're the ones that create all these comparables for us, and buyers and sellers are the ones that make these determinations, not us. And so we exclude the anomalies. There's lakefront property. You couldn't, ask any reputable real estate agent, especially the ones that deal with lakefront property, what you can buy on the lake for $500,000. It's not going to be a lot. So we exclude the anomalies. And also this is an average too. The median might be a little tighter, or the median might even be higher. But this excludes basic residential property on a basic lot, not something on an acreage tract or what have you. And we exclude, I think it's 3 acres or less that's in that component.
Yeah,
John?
correct.
So that's what we're looking at in terms of average sale prices, and this is just Hall County, and these are sales from last year. So the current market may be evolving and changing as we speak. And most of our real estate agents and friends and closing attorneys will tell you what's happened in the last 6 months is different than what happened in calendar year last year. And so as we see that change, we'll be looking at that for next year, for 2026.
And what is the time period that this assessment is for?
It is the date of appraisal in the state of Georgia is January the 1st. And so having said that, we use sales activity that have occurred in the previous calendar year, 2024, to estimate your value for January 1st of 2025. And as we know, the market can change fast, and we saw that in COVID. After January 1st, and of course, in the winter months, normally that's a little bit of a slowdown in the real estate market, usually peaks in the summer, and then we have this little bit of a bell curve. And so we'll see sales activity decrease, and sometimes, the prices will decrease too, or not be as active during that period.
So we got a text message in that said, Martha, we also received our 2025 tax assessment, and it actually does have an estimated tax down on the bottom right-hand corner. If I'm understanding what is being discussed, there should not be an estimated tax there yet. Is this correct? No, I was wrong. There is an estimated tax in the bottom right corner. I initially said I didn't think I saw any tax there.
That's different. It depends on whether the local jurisdiction gave us an estimated millage rate or not. And so I'll let John talk about that and tell you in what cases you'll see an estimated tax, in what cases you will not, because this is assessment notice is new for 25 per House Bill 581.
So there are 3 different notices that can go out depending on the situation. In Hall County, we're only going to see 2 because the county did not provide an estimated rollback. So every part of a county bill that's on the notice, or a county estimate that's on the notice, that no estimated rollback is taken into calculation. So if the municipality, if the taxing authority, the school, the municipality, the county, didn't provide an estimated rollback, then there's an estimated tax on the bottom of your notice. That estimated tax is for that authority's M&O. So you won't see all the other line items, emergency services, fire, police, whatever else you're used to seeing on the notice or that you'll see on the bill broken out. You'll only see the M&O for the authority that did not provide an estimated rollback. If they did provide an estimated rollback, all you're going to see is up above that what their estimated rollback millage rate was.
That's right. So what John said is true, is that because 581 states that the estimated rollback only has to be for the county M&O that's provided to us. As you know, the city of Gainesville and the county have other service districts like fire and police and park and rec and what have you that doesn't appear on the assessment notice as a part of the estimated tax. And so that can be misleading, understandably so, because you think that your property taxes are going to be $331, but they're not. So
we are going to take a break right now, and then we're going to find out what is the best process for people to follow up on all of this. We'll be back on the Martha Zoller Show. It is the Martha Zoller Show. We're here with Joni Alpert, also Steve Watson and John Smith from the Tax Appraiser's Office for Hall County. And you can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. You can also text us at that number, which this person did. And here's the question, Steve. A question about property tax calculation. Will property owners know their calculation of tax within the 45-day window for tax appeals? We need to know what we're appealing to be able to appeal. I have not received my property tax assessment yet.
Well, the actual tax on your property is not appealable. The valuation is, but not the actual tax.
Right.
And so we need to focus on what we have the property valued at. However, understanding that that is a personal thing and understand that completely, even though House Bill 581 doesn't put your full property tax estimate on your assessment notice any longer, you can go to our Q Public website. So you just ask Miss Google, Q Public, Hall County. Go look your property up either by name, address, or your parcel number, whatever information you have. Go to your record, okay? And then you can look at all your information, number of bedrooms, baths, square foot, and what have you, and see a copy of your assessment notice there too. But if you scroll down to the bottom of your record, you'll see the estimated tax as we know it to be based on the current millage rates that have been estimated, or the millage rates from last year. Now, this is just an estimate, but you can see pretty darn close to what your property tax might be once the actual tax bills go out. And so that's we wanted to do that because the estimated tax is not on the notice of assessment any longer. And that way you can go online and do that. And if you're not digital or internet savvy, if you'll call our office, we'll be happy to look that up for you and give it to you, because we still have that information available to us.
That sounds great. What do you think is the biggest challenge that homeowners have right now on this process?
Just understanding the process and walking through it and knowing how to appeal your property value. Listen, the best thing you can do is just to call our office and ask for someone to explain to you the assessment process, or check the information. It can be intimidating going to the Board of Equalization and appealing your property value, especially if you don't have knowledge of the real estate market and what have you, and we understand that. And so we see our appraisal staff as advocates for the property owner, because we want to make sure you not only understand it, but it's valuable to us for the valuation to be equitable and for you not to pay any more property tax than what you should. And so that's really important, but it can be intimidating. Calling questions are good.
Hey, Steve, I have a question for you. What's your cell phone number? No, I'm kidding. What is the phone number that people can call with questions?
770-531-6720.
Okay. And if they call, you will walk them through. Somebody is there to walk them through, because a lot of people find this process very overwhelming.
It is. It can be overwhelming, and anybody can call that number and get a walkthrough of the process.
So there's someone there that will handhold and help them through.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's wonderful, because somehow you're perceived as the bad guys.
I am.
I know. I know.
I'm familiar with it.
I know. So just saying, that's nice. We can call that number and get a nice person. Can you just repeat that number again?
The number you can call in order to get a walkthrough or an explanation of the process is 770-531-6720. You can find my number or John's number or any of our numbers on our website. And so I entertain questions all the time and help people through that process. And that's really important. Really, really important.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
John, do you still go around and look at properties?
I don't get a chance to get out of the office much and go look at properties.
Do other
Occasionally
people
I do.
do that?
We do have a staff of appraisers that go
Okay.
out and look at properties. And speaking of the appeal process, that we can, in the office, somebody can talk you through that process. Or you can go online on the Q Public website. That appeal process on that website will walk you through the appeal. It tells you what to do next, how to pick your comps and everything to do that. The one thing I want to say about the notices and what's hard for people on that to understand that is the fact that, as we've mentioned, if you're homesteaded property, depending on where you're at, your value is going to be based on a 23 or 24 value, or a combination of those two values. And that doesn't show up on the notice. People are seeing this year's assessed notice. And like we've mentioned, and most people, when they appeal, they're appealing because they want to get their taxes down. And they don't understand that that's on there. You have to look at the bottom and kind of work through the math, which is unfortunate about the way this notice is formatted, because we were required to format it that way, is it doesn't show that value.
So to your point, that you may get, if your assessed value does not go below 2023 or 2024, depending, it's not going to change your tax dollar. And what you're appealing is your assessed value,
Correct.
not the tax amount.
Correct. You can appeal.
I mean, it kind of is connected, but
yeah, it's part of the equation.
Yes.
But yeah, unless your taxable value drops below the 23 or 24, depending on which authority it is, value, you won't see a change in your taxes.
So, Steve, and you've been in this business a long time. I mean, you grew up in Hall County. You've done, I think you were in Gwinnett County doing this kind of work, and then you came up here, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
That's right. I went to Stevens County as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
that's right.
So you've been doing this a long time. Why does this have to be so complicated?
Well, there's legislation involved, and I'm not trying to pick on my brothers and sisters at the Gold Dome, but anytime you are controlling things by the legislative process, it gets a little complicated. And everybody has wants and desires, and they have people that they want to make sure, or not entities, but groups that they want to make sure that they take care of. The property tax process has been, for the most part, the same since the mid-'60s, when it changed to the format that we're in right now. And so we're an ad valorem state. And so that's Latin for according to value. And so your property tax is the base of it is based on the value according to what the property might sell for in this state. And so as long as we're there, that's how that causes a lot of fluctuation.
So I've had a lot of conversations over the years about this. And back in the day when James Mills first started introducing, Representative James Mills started introducing these exemptions for people based on age, okay? And there was a worry at that time that because this is a community where a lot of people come to retire, that if you have a lot of exemptions based on age, that you're going to run into problems from a tax collection standpoint at some point in time. Have we seen any of that come to fruition? Because now that's been, like 30 years since all of this started with these exemptions?
Yeah, James and Carl and some of those guys.
Back in the day.
Came up with, actually the last House bill that they passed was House Bill 1411. And basically in matter of fact, the age used to be 75 and it went to 72 and now it's 70. And so we have seen that. And of course, the school district will tell you how much that affects them. A large percentage of the valuation on their tax digest is exempted as a result of the total school tax exemption. And because of the assessment caps this year, countywide exemptions have doubled on the tax digest. So, and what I mean, so the gross tax digest this year, based on reevaluation and new construction, went up about 9% and change. But the net tax digest only went up about 3.84% as a result of that. So the local jurisdictions that set the millage rates and depend on that property tax revenue have to deal with that. So as we move forward, I think we'll start to get used to that and where we're at right now. But it has had an effect, especially in school district. But the fact that we have that attracts more people here, and we're become a very popular place for people to come and retire.
Yeah, and I think, and there's a whole, discussion we can have about that. But I think what's so interesting is that people, look, this is, again, I've said this before, this is your biggest purchase you make in your life. And it's frustrating. My house has been paid for I don't know how many years, but I'm still, no house is free to live in. You still got to pay tax every year. There's still a monthly cost every year for living in your house. And I just, it's frustrating, but it's what I think feeds into these movements to either go to a flat tax or to get rid of property tax altogether. I mean, they're talking about that. Or getting rid of getting rid of income tax and then having more sales tax. That's where these discussions come from, because it is I don't know who could have come up with this system except a crazy person. I'm not saying you're a crazy person, but it really doesn't have logical from point A to point B factors.
Yeah, it's complicated sometimes. It gets complicated, but it's controllable, but it's less controllable because the valuation and your property tax is based on the real estate market. We reduced property valuations significantly back when I first came here. when the market just went in the tank, and it was bouncing on the bottom for several years. And so we reflected that in our valuations. But now when it goes up, you'll see, like you said, your valuation could easily go up 20% depending on the market in your area or type of property.
So anything we've left out that you wanted to be sure to get to today?
Well, I think it's important for people to know that within the 45-day appeal periods, you can apply for homestead exemption. And I think the deadline is September the 19th. It's really important. And it means more to you now because we have the assessment caps.
Yes.
And also, too, if you've not applied for the total sales tax exemption, which is very popular with those of us that are 70 or better, you have to be 70 by January 1st of this year to qualify. Call us or come see us or do it online, and we'll walk you through the process. And if you do it online and we have questions, we'll follow back up with you.
So you can go on the website. You can look at all of the things there. You can call, but also you can go in the old-fashioned way and work with people face to face, right?
That's exactly right.
That's great. Listen, I want to thank you guys for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate Joni loaning me her readers.
That's right.
Hey, wait a minute. That was only if you lowered my taxes.
I know it's conditional. I'll do what I can.
Do what you can. John, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having us, Martha.
Thank you. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to you.